We'll kick off Wednesday, January 19th meeting of the Economic Development Authority for the City of Montrose. We'll do a call to order and a roll call. I'm Tom Marslek.
Shannon Sweeney with David Drummond Associates.
Michael Sommerfeld.
Jessica Bodiwell.
Steve Griffin, NAC, City Planner.
Password. Right. Okay, good. All right. We have a copy of the minutes in your packet there. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting, which was June 15th of last year?
Or do we have quorum?
Well, we don't have a quorum, so we won't be, Well, I think we'll just go ahead and approve the minutes. That's all we can do. Treasurer's report. Michael, do you have those numbers?
From 2021, the beginning balance was $171,257.60. There were 27,597 and change in receipts, and 1,645.20 in disbursements. And Tom, I can give you that
Okay.
sheet when we're done.
Yeah.
And then so far this year, we've had $956 in disbursements for our membership dues.
Okay. Now, there was also, there's some funds in there. It's the state, federal state funds. There's somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 and some thousand. Remember that?
Like the cash balances.
Yeah, it was something that we had to get approval to use. We couldn't just turn around and spend it on developing every business on Highway 12 or anything.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. I remember there was quite a substantial bit of money there.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll get into old business. Shannon, could you give us an update on where we are with Gary and the preserve out there?
Sure. My contact has been with J.P. Brooks, Aaron Halverson in particular. Ultimately, most recent communications were that they were going to be submitting a request for tax increment financing assistance. Thought we were going to have something earlier this week, but ultimately they are working with the county assessor on establishing the estimated market value for the rental units they are proposing to construct. Now, let's walk through, what tax increment financing request means. Ultimately, what they are going to be asking for is a reimbursement of property taxes that are paid as a result of the project that they construct. And I just did a preliminary look at what that would mean per unit. They had indicated that the assessor was assigning roughly $180,000 per unit in market value to their project. They thought it should be closer to $200,000, but I used $180,000 because that's what the assessor had indicated at this point. That single unit would generate about $2,355 in tax increment that could be captured on an annual basis in a housing TIF district for up to 26 years. Nobody subsidizes rental housing for 26 years, but statute allows you to capture it for that long. So that 2355 is 90% of the available increment. Cities usually retain 10% to cover administrative costs. There's an annual reporting requirement to the state and that sort of thing. And ultimately, generally if there's a subsidy to be provided, we recommend on the side of doing a higher percentage of increment for a shorter period of time, just to get the stuff completely on the tax rolls and out of the TIF district as soon as we can. For the assistance provided, the developer is required to make 20% of the units available to folks at 50% of area median income. What that means, and it's by family size, is that for a single person, 20% of the units, if it went to all single people, would have to be made available to folks at $36,750 in gross household income or less. If it's two people, it's $42,000 3 people, 47,250, 4 people's 52,450, and up from there. So 20% of the units, 2 out of every 10 units, has to be rented by folks that meet that income threshold. And so part of the subsidy is making those units available for folks at those income levels. Part of the subsidy is just for the developers pro forma and trying to get rental housing projects constructed. My commentary would be, I work for cities, counties, and townships doing public finance work. In this area, I work for Winstead, Howard Lake, Annandale, Glencoe. Those folks have been using TIF to subsidize rental housing, and some of them, not all, only some, have used it for single-family residential housing. I would consider your community to almost be on the border of where TIF assistance would be used for owner-occupied housing, if at all. And I would still think you're probably in that same market where most developers would be looking for that form of assistance to do a rental housing project, just because they have to make units available to folks at those incomes. I expect that JP Brooks is going to be submitting that request soon. Ultimately, I directed them to submit it to the city with a copy to me, and we'll review it and help the city contemplate whether or not it seems like a good idea. Happy to answer questions, but that's kind of where we're at on that project today with regard to the requests that they're intending to make.
And these are twin homes, right, if I remember
But they're
correctly?
all rental, yes.
They're all rental twin homes, and I forgot the total number of twin homes out there.
Well, there's room for a lot. I don't know how many, I would expect that it would be done in phases depending on how
Yeah.
successful they are.
That's what I was wondering, what the phasing would be on that too.
That we're not aware of yet.
Is it all gonna come in their information that they're supplying, or
I
is that?
expect so, or if it doesn't, that'd be the first question we'd ask,
Yeah.
so.
Because we don't really have a preliminary plat or anything on that.
It's
we
already
have an old-
platted.
There's some old plats.
We have an old plat, yeah.
Yeah, for the twin house, because there's already, lines out there and
Yeah.
stuff, so,
Um,
and streets, so.
Is that close to what they're proposing now, though, is I guess is what I'm
I
asking?
think their plan is to be right on what
Yeah.
old plat laid
Oh,
out.
they are,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I thought they were
Yeah, I
trying to
think they
use
were
it
gonna
as
use
well.
that old.
Okay.
And there's fourplexes, I think, in there, and
Yeah, it's kind of a
duplexes,
mix.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Okay,
attached housing by and large.
all right. So we're a little further along than I thought we were, in terms of having a preliminary plat.
Right.
Yeah,
They're,
that piece of it is
yeah.
probably further along, but they wanted to get into the TIF stuff, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their email indicated that, they are focused on trying to make spring construction. And so that means they understand fully that they need to get this stuff in front of the council
Right.
now.
Okay.
So. Interested in input though, or feedback on what our thoughts are on just subsidizing rental housing in general, and whether that's, I like to give the developer feedback, so we don't create unrealistic expectations.
Sure.
So,
Well, I'm always in favor of developing plots of land like that in single family, but I know there's a need. Every other community around here is developing the twin homes and quad homes kind of concept. I don't know if they're, looking at TIF, but according to what you said, that most people that are in that are building rentals are looking for some assistance from TIF, right? Was that the statement you made?
yes.
Yeah.
Annandale, Glencoe, Howard Lake Wood, if they had a rental housing project, they are using TIF to subsidize some single family. Winstead is contemplating some multifamily development. They're discussing the use of TIF. They haven't yet, but they are discussing it. So, yeah, it's part of the conversation generally on
Okay.
rental housing in
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah. Well, you know, none of us are TIF experts here, so we kind of rely on your judgment, your, you know, experience level to whether we proceed or not on these kinds of things.
Yeah, I'm interested in your input from an employer's perspective on the income levels that I talked about. Would that assist you? Or is that beneath what you're paying already? And
I would say that's beneath what we're paying currently. You know, in the last year, you know, our starting wage now is $20 an hour.
Yeah.
You know, so it's and up from there, obviously.
Yeah.
So I would say that's beneath us. You know, as far as the rental stuff goes, just speaking from, you know, construction, you know, background a little bit, but it's on the rise. So, you know, single family rentals, you know, there's builders building those in the cities. The millennials and kind of the groups coming up right now, that's a high demand, and that's kind of a lot of the big national builders are looking into them.
yeah.
You know, so not just twin homes, but single family rentals, like a regular single family home. So it's different for sure. It's a different model for Minnesota, but it's coming.
Okay.
So. Steve, what's been your experience?
Kind of depends mostly on how motivated the city is to see a particular piece get developed. And I mean, there are a lot of places out there that will say, well, we'll cover the extraordinary expenses with TIF if it's a project that is running into something that just the normal course of development wouldn't normally see.
Yep.
And I guess
Well, Rob, come on and have a seat.
Hey, guys.
it seems to me that this may be one of those, just because there is some kind of fix some of the problems that are in the ground, and obviously the city would like to get it off your record, so I could see the motivation on that side. Beyond that, I think that Shannon was talking about farther out, closer in, there's not a whole lot of TIF being done for multifamily, at least in my experience, just because the demand has been so strong, and they're mostly building as fast as they can put them up, you know,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
right,
But,
right.
Yeah, the only request I have further in is in Woolly Dale on a redevelopment project. They're tearing down an old shopping center, basically.
So you end up with those extraordinary costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Rob, just to bring you up to speed here, this is Rob Kirkpatrick. He's another member of our EDA here. We're talking about the preserve out on Highway 12, failed development. Well, we have, you know, Gary Brummer is interested in building some twin homes and quad homes out there for a rental scenario, and he's asked for TIF financing. So we're discussing whether that'd be a good thing for the city or not. It seems like a lot of communities are going that route with rental homes. Apparently, builders and developers that are going into that usually ask for some type of TIF assistance. So we're just trying to figure out what our response is going to be in terms of do we move forward or not. The question is always, do we have other options? Yes, we have other options. But you know, we're on kind of a first come, first served basis here. We have other developers interested in purchasing the property, but you know, when we make a commitment to work with somebody, we like to continue with that commitment and not pull the rug out from under them and jump ship and go to somebody else, because a community gets a really bad reputation like that, you know. So I don't know. From the you were going to say something?
I was going to say, you know, from that perspective, if it doesn't work out, you know, if the request isn't something that the city's willing to grant, you know, perhaps in the current climate doing an RFP, you know, where you do a request for proposals, you know, to the development community and say, here's your chance to give it a shot and explain the product you'd build and any subsidy that you'd request. And, you know, I'd say that's an alternative once you run the course with the current developer and decide whether it's appropriate.
Sure, yeah, all right. Okay, so I mean, I was in favor of moving forward with this from the start, so I don't think anything's really, there haven't been any earth-shattering developments that would lead me to go a different direction, so.
Just hesitant hesitant about the income limits, it just seems really, like you said, you're paying more than that
Yeah.
there, so.
What we'll find in rural communities many times is that with tax increment, just for your benefit, 20% of the units have to be made available to folks of specific income levels. So 2 out of 10 units have to be for a single person. That person can't make more than $36,750. For 2 people, it's $42,000. For 3 people, it's $47,250. 4, it's $52,450. So 2 out of 10 units, and that's only during the life of the subsidy. Once the TIF district expires, no more income limit.
Yeah.
But the folks we find in more rural areas tend to be seniors. And seniors, you know, that level of income works for seniors. And so, you know, and townhouses tend to work for seniors because there's no snow removal or
Right.
lawn maintenance and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, and when they're on Social Security, and they may have assets, but
Right.
income is within that threshold.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
All right. All right. I think, once we get the information back from JP Brooks, we'll move forward.
The owner, manager has to do reporting on that.
yes, at least annually. Some folks are requiring it twice a year at this point, but at least annually is kind of the status quo. How do you, when that information comes, what's the first body that you want to see that request or act on it?
I would say probably EDA, since it's a TIF scenario.
Yep.
And then once we vote and make a decision, we're gonna move forward, then we'll bring it before the council, just
Sounds
for
good.
final approval.
Yep, that helps me understand process.
Yeah. It's kinda like everything else. I mean, planning and zoning can approve something and go to council, and council can deny it, or vice versa. So, looking at the existing council, I don't think they would have an issue with whatever we put forth, unless there was some personal motivation that I'm not aware of. So, we try not to operate in that realm, but everybody has thoughts and feelings about everything, so, All right, does anybody have any other questions about the preserve? We're talking about this piece of property out Highway 12, Rob, just in case. You know where that's at? Okay.
In the south side?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions on preserve, or any questions of Shannon while he's here? He is our expert. He's our TIF, what's the word I'm looking for? Ninja. So,
I think that's on his resume.
yeah.
It is now.
I know, he's explained it to me like 5 times already, and I don't think I could stand up in front of anybody and explain the whole thing, so this is hard to get your head wrapped around. All right, Steve, we got some other things going on in the city right now with the subway and some development and stuff. If you could give us an update on that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, Subway is going in, and the liquor store site, the other half of that building, more or less, not quite half, I guess, but they'll be put in a drive-through window, and they got their approval from council here December, I guess, December meeting.
Yeah.
And, did I get that right?
No, I don't know, was it the January?
January meeting?
Yeah, I think it was a January meeting, yeah.
Oh,
Sometime before yesterday.
Yeah, we approved it, yeah.
And so it took them a little while to kind of get what they wanted to do and what they needed to do, and the builder was kind of left with driving that project, and he wasn't used to doing the planning and zoning stuff, but they got through and got their approvals, and so, and then they've had a couple questions about some other kind of procedural things, what do we do about the sign, that kind of stuff, so they seem pretty focused on following through and getting going, so
Okay.
would expect that some activity there, and I'm not sure what their opening date is, but they're working on it. And we've been talking to housing people for a month over and over again about it. I mean, preserve has been one of the things on the radar, but we actually have now a plat and application in for Northridge 6th from LGI Homes, single family plat. north side of the city, that's Aspen Lane,
Mhm.
and 7th, I think it connects to. And it's 22 lots, 27 lots maybe.
Yeah, I tried to count, I think it was 27.
27
Yeah.
is kind of in my head now, so yeah. So they've got their materials in, so they'll be on planning commission in February.
Okay, good.
And the Overson development, the townhouse project just over on the west side of town here. Yeah, they were kind of active and pushing for a long time, actually years ago, and then kind of popped up here again about a year ago, and they had a problem with a setback, and pushed back and forth for a while, but it looks like they've resolved that. They kind of revised their plans a little bit to meet that setback requirement, so we expect them to be in front of council in February if they can turn their final plan around and get that going. That's a little small townhouse project with 14 units, I think, altogether.
Okay. Well,
So
it's good, because I wasn't sure, I thought that one might have been dead.
Yeah, it they kind of.
Not sure, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's still got the, hopefully the hard part is over though, because that setback was the thing that was the stickler for them, and they were trying to avoid having that as they were trying to pretend that that wasn't an issue, but they finally sent it back to their builder or designer guy, and figured it out, so.
Okay, good, good.
I'm optimistic about that one. Obviously, they were working on it enough to get a new plan put together, which they didn't want to do for a long time. So I expect them to kind of pop through and be here on an agenda here in the next month, maybe two.
Yeah, if they spent the money to revise the plan, they're obviously serious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just waiting for a final plan of incorporation with all the changes, and we have a developers agreement pretty much ready to go for that, so we're ready as soon as they are. So.
Good, okay. Awesome.
There's a handful of other subdivisions that have kind of been in to talk with staff and at various kind of stages of working on their plans and figuring out what their plats are going to look like. So, as I told Planning Commission last time, I wouldn't doubt that, you know, we see everybody show up all at once, but there's a lot of activity out there rumbling just, it's what seems like anyway, just below the surface. So,
Yeah, we have autumn winds out there off Clementa. That one's in really good shape. It's moving right along. And then the other one with JP Brooks and Gary
yeah.
North, that one's pretty much on hold right now. That one's not going anywhere, is it?
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah.
What was that?
That's what I've heard, that it's kind of on hold.
Yeah, what was that subdivision name? I can't think of.
I think it was one of the Rolling Meadows ones?
Rolling Meadows, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so.
And Autumn Winds, that's the one that's just south of Reserve, right? Am I thinking that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly, yeah. That's one where, you know, if Gary backs out of the deal, he may be interested, so. I just hope things roll good with that one. And then we had the Creek, was it Creekside or
Creekside Hollows.
Creekside Hollows, yeah, that was another one.
I think they're working on stuff, there's a bunch of stuff for the environment that they had to go through for different stuff, so.
Yeah, so,
starting up these old ones, everybody's
Yeah,
got to
it's
go
hard,
back
yeah.
to do new
Yeah, quickly start
wetland
everything.
delineation.
sure, yeah.
They're kind of, even if they've got kind of a plat layout that they're working with, it causes them to start at least square two, if not square one, so.
Mhm. Yeah,
but-
okay. All right, well, you do a good job of keeping us up to date on that stuff, so that's really what we need, a handle on things. All right, does anybody have any questions of Steve on things he discussed? No? Okay. Well, new business, we'll welcome our new members to the group here, EDA. Unfortunately, we're missing 2 members, but if you could just say who you are and a little bit about your background and why you decided that EDA would be a good thing. I know you were probably voluntold, I think.
So I'm Matt Smith. I was telling a couple of them before, I'm originally from Iowa. I moved up here to teach school. I taught 5th grade for 1 year and decided I was a better carpenter. Yeah, maybe. So I've worked for carpentry contractors now for 21, 22 years. Joe Rasmussen, who was part of this before, he's retiring, so I'm kind of taking over for him. And this is part of it. I do enjoy, you know, I'm a local, I live in Young America is where I live now. Been on the fire department there for years. My wife's the head of the Chamber of Commerce there. She runs a hair salon in town, so I'm used to local government stuff, you know, kind of from afar and in different things. So that's kind of me.
Good, good.
Well, I'm Rob Kirkpatrick. I have the VW business on the east side of town. I live in Buffalo, been a Wright County resident since I was married 42 years ago. Started out in Delano and then moved to a small hobby farm in Buffalo about 25 years ago. Volkswagens have been in my blood since I was a college kid. And so my business is really a hobby business. I just grew out of control and had to take it to the next step. Montrose has kind of become home for us. We started down in the Emory building a few years ago, and then Justin kind of expanded and squeezed us out, but the RV building became available about the same time, and so we moved down there and liked the spot and liked the community. We have kind of a wide clientele. We don't depend upon Montrose for our bread and butter, but we do have quite a host of Volkswagens right here in town, so that's also kind of nice. Participation, I thought, would be a good avenue for me to get exposed to a little local politics, as well as offer my 2 cents occasionally. So,
Good. Well, speaking on behalf of the EDA, I'm really pleased to have you both on board. We don't use the word politics in this group because I'm not a politician, even though I'm on the city council. I don't regard myself as a politician because it'd be like calling you a used car salesman, you know what I mean? That has that same stereotypical thing. But I believe that we just need to weigh the facts and make the right decision, do the right thing. That's really what it's all about, both here and on council and city government.
mm-hmm.
So this is just a continuation of that. So I look forward to working with both of you. Okay, we have the next item on the list is the Initiative Foundation budget confirmation. We're increasing contribution to $500 for 2022. Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah,
Jess?
we just need an approval for that, and that was up from $260, and they just help with economic development in different ways, so.
Okay. Well, do I hear a motion to approve a contribution of $500 to the Initiative Foundation? I'll make the motion to go ahead and approve a $500 contribution to the Initiative Foundation. Do I have a second?
I'll second it for
All
you.
right. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further conversation or discussion on that? Okay, we'll go ahead and take a vote on it. All in favor of the $500 contribution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion approved. 3-0. All right, thank you. Okay, I gotta watch time here. I have a tendency to. Okay. Next item is strategizing for 2022. You know, we've had a long struggle trying to get light manufacturing and small business and retail and fast food, anything into the city of Montrose. I had an exhausting 6-month effort trying to get an Aldi in town. And basically, I they have a set of criteria, and the first thing, they go through brokers. You can't go to Aldi direct, they go through brokers. And the first item on the list was population density. Needless to say, Montrose alone doesn't have the population density support in Aldi. So what I did is I took 25, or cities within a 25-mile radius of Montrose, and there were 60 of some cities, and I was amazed that there were that many cities within 25 miles of Montrose, but there are. And I looked at that city's proximity to the nearest Aldi, and then I compared that with that city's proximity to Montrose, and found that there were 6 cities that were closer to Montrose than there were any Aldi anywhere. So I thought, okay, let's combine the population density of these cities plus the surrounding communities, and it was like 26,000 people. So I went back to Aldi and I said, hey, if I got a deal with, we got 26,000 people. He says, well, how many people do you have in Montrose? They went right back to that line item number 1 on the list, and I said, well, we're about 3,600. He says, that's not enough to support an Aldi. And they didn't want to hear about the rest of the cities and all that. So that's pretty much at the point where I gave up. So as we get a little larger, or if anybody has any ideas of any other small grocery type scenarios other than the Dollar General, I know there are people that do their grocery shopping at the Dollar General, and that's got to be a little on the spendy side, and they must not eat any produce whatsoever. So, because there certainly isn't a piece of lettuce in an entire building. But anyway, I mean, I could use some more lettuce. But so I'm open to any ideas to attracting. If you know of a business that might be looking to move into a small community, any light manufacturing that you hear about or know about in whatever communities you exist in that might be interested in moving out here to Montrose, we're certainly here to entertain that. We're really happy that the subway's going in. That building was supposed to be a combination laundromat in the front and the subway in the back with just a drive-through window. That was the original plan. And the fellow that was going to put the laundromat in couldn't even get pricing on his equipment, let alone anything else, so he had no idea what his bottom line entry was going to be into that business, so he pretty much walked. And his friend, who was a Subway guy, decided to expand that and put in-house seating and all that stuff in the Subway, so it worked out fine. We still don't have a laundromat, but maybe there'll be another opportunity somewhere for that. The old Casey's would have been a perfect, but it is what it is. So, go ahead.
What land do you have available for light manufacturing? Is there multiple sites or?
Yeah, and the next topic on here was updating this flyer. We have the business park there on 12 in Clementa. We have 144 acres right on the corner here behind the Cool Spot Coffee Place and that whole farm field. And then we have a piece right on 3rd Street between Arizona and Zephyr, right out in front of
Are they all served, or some served, some not, as far as streets and water, sanitary
yeah.
storm?
They all are, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about the field, like the field space.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't know where the access to
I mean,
that-
they have access, but there's nothing back there yet, so that would.
Yeah, right. There is,
Private ownership on all?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this 144 acres, I'm thinking they wanted $5 million for that,
I don't remember.
something in that neighborhood. I called those guys and they were kind of like dealing with used car salesmen. No offense, Rob. I can't get that out of my mind though, so. But you can call me a politician and get even, okay. Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of land for housing development. There's a lot of land for small businesses, manufacturing. We have access to railroad. We've got some good things going for us here. So, like I said, I'm just looking for any kind of ideas anybody has on how bizarre they might be to attract businesses. Kirby was talking about that chicken place. What was the name of that? all they serve is wings,
Canes.
canes. Yeah, and I said, well, good luck with that.
Yeah,
Kirby."
good
I
luck.
said, "If you know anybody that'll
We
put
can't
a-"
even get like a McDonald's
I said,
here.
if anybody, yeah, if you know anybody will put canes up out here, then go for it. But I don't think he's done anything with that.
You know, on the grocery store side, have you looked into, you know, Hy-Vee puts the, not Hy-Vee themselves, but Hy-Vee has the, I think they're called Fresh Market. It's kind of a spin-off of Hy-Vee, but they'll put them in, you know, Glencoe's got one, they put it in the old Pomida there. I know, it seems like they put them in existing buildings. I don't know how, you know, if they were gonna build new, if they're, how open they are to that. But they are popping up in some smaller communities. I know
Hy-Vee itself does a lot of rural.
Norwood looked into that a little bit when we had Econo Foods and they got rid of that. And then a cabinet shop came in instead, but that might be one to look into. I know it's through Hy-Vee, but I think they're called Fresh Markets.
Fresh
Or
markets.
Fresh Seasons or something.
Is that Fresh Time?
Something
No.
like
That's something else.
Yeah,
that.
that's
I think
that
it's called
organic
Fresh Market. I'll look
Okay,
it up.
I can look it up too, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're not looking at a Coburn's like they built in Buffalo, you know.
Yeah, and the one in Glencoe, you know, they opened it right next to Coburn, so it's.
Did they really?
Yeah, so it seems like they're open to putting, you know, it's a little bit different. You know, it's not a Coburn's by any means, you know, it's similar to an Aldi in a way, I guess is kind of how I'd explain it, but not necessarily all the Aldi rules either, but
Yeah,
might be an option.
yeah, okay, that's good. I'll check that out. Yeah, because we're in desperate need. I mean, everybody I talk to, we're in desperate need of a grocery store other than, you know, Dollar General. Because everybody's either has to go to Coburn's in Delano or into Buffalo. You know, in fact, Aldi was talking about building a Aldi in Buffalo, and I'm going, what are you guys thinking? You know, you got one right up the road in Monticello. Plus you've got Super Target with groceries, you've got Walmart with groceries, you've got Coburn's, you've got Cub. I mean, how many grocery stores do you need in one town of 15, 16,000, you know?
It's a Hy-Vee fast and fresh. Stores are stocked with staples for your pantry and freezer, as well as selection of fresh products, including produce, dairy, meat, bakery.
Huh. Where are they located at, with their headquarters, do you know?
I think Iowa.
Iowa?
Yeah, Hy-Vee is what I would.
Okay.
The other one that made me think about Quick Trip,
Yeah, Quick
which
Trip.
does a lot of small grocery.
And they have like produce and,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
staples and
Mhm.
stuff there.
Yeah, I was surprised
I
how
love
big
Quick
Quick
Trip.
Trip was when they built it in Delano.
Oh, I love
It's
it,
a
yeah.
grocery store in there, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, that gives me something to chase at least. I know Casey's wouldn't be real pleased with that, but oh well. So,
Well, they
okay,
don't sell pizza anymore.
right, yeah, exactly. Well, they weren't selling coffee for a while either, because they didn't want to use the water, you know. But anyway. Okay. The other item is, I did this flyer like, it's probably 2 years ago, Jess, I guess now.
When was it done?
What?
When?
2 years ago? Yeah. We won't go there. Yeah, I did this flyer because I wanted to be able to, you know, when businesses contact the city, I wanted to be able to at least hand them something and say, here's what we have to offer, you know? And I'm open to constructive criticism because I don't know if all the information in here is necessary. If there's information that is, you know, like I looked at the renter versus owner occupied by household type. I'm not sure that's important data. I think the household income distribution is, so they can get an idea of, you know, are people living in, you know, squalor out here in Montrose, or do they have money to spend, you know? That's important for a business, knowing whether they want to come in town or not.
On the available land, I'd put contact information for who owns it.
Yeah, I kind of run out of room, that was the problem.
Uh,
But I suppose I could make the font smaller and cram it in there.
The other thing, you were talking about population and kind of where you went out and but one of the things I see pop up a lot is population within 3 miles or within 5 miles. That might not be in your community, but for some reason that pops up a lot in some of these little economic development, not economic development plans sometimes, but market study stuff that people do. They'll kind of create what may seem like an arbitrary number, but just kind of, and you can get that data.
Like the township data and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, how many in the township, how many even Waverly, and, kind of create a, so you can kind of pop your number up a little bit within just a few miles. And that has, I've seen that used, so I assume Aldi might not care, but,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I would
So
say
the
that might
population within a 5-mile radius or something
Right.
of that effect? Okay, that's good. As a business owner here in town, Rob, what do you think?
I think, I guess that, the short time here, it was interesting to see the available land that was out there. As you look visually, I thought I'd turn you on. As you look visually, I would have said, it seems like maybe we might be cramped for space, but the opposite is true. There's lots of space to
Yeah, there is.
go and grow, so.
Yep. Okay.
So
Yeah, I agree with Shannon's comment about contact information too.
Well, maybe we can change the banner or maybe make that smaller so then you can like increase the size of that column,
Yeah,
tweak it a little bit.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, I can move things around. I used to have a program in my Microsoft days that I could do all this readily, so I had to buy another package for my Apple to do this, so it's pretty easy to move things and shrink things. I know housing is really critical too, because people that put a business, especially like manufacturing, they kind of want to know two things. Do you have the ability to house employees? And the second thing is, I think if I were a business owner and I'm moving into a town, I would want to know pretty much what the education status is. I mean, do you have people that are, 8th grade graduates, or do you have people who, why are you looking at me like that? Or do you have people that, have a high school or some college education, because depending on your business, you're looking for a certain level of education from people, I don't know if that's, you guys feel that's important in there.
Is this on your website?
Is there a flyer?
Yeah.
I don't think.
I can send it to you electronically if you want.
I was just gonna say, I would encourage you to pop a link to it right on the front page of your website.
Yeah, well, you notice the next item on the list is the Montrose Waverly Chamber of Commerce. I have like a mushy spot inside of my head from beating it against the wall trying to drag the Montrose Chamber into this century in terms of, if I were a business owner and the chamber came to me and said, we want you to be a member of the chamber, my first question would be, what value is that to me? And they can't answer that question, unfortunately. And they sent me up to the executive Minnesota Chamber of Commerce meeting, that's 2.5 years ago now. And they wanted me to kind of assess where we are versus where a lot of the chambers are. And I came back and I did a PowerPoint presentation for them. And they all went, oh, that's great, that's nice, and nothing changed. And then we had a gal from the chamber come out and talk to them and basically said the same thing I said. And they all went, oh, that's great, nothing has changed. So I don't know what else to do. I'm not a member because I'm not a business owner, but I'm the liaison from the city. So I have a vested interest to make sure the chamber's working properly because that dovetails with EDA and it dovetails with my job as a council member for the city of Montrose, trying to get businesses involved, So it's very frustrating, and I don't honestly know what else to do to get the chamber interested. And the reason I developed this flyer was supposed to go on the city website as well as the chamber website. So, to answer your question.
Well, maybe you just have to go around and put it on the city's website. I think
Well, we will put it on the
it's
city.
good
we will get it
information
on.
and,
Yeah, I want to make sure it's,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's 2 years old. We have a different regime this year and, well, starting actually last year in the city of Montrose with people on the chambers or on the council. So it's a little easier to do than it was a couple of years ago. I butted heads with a lot of the former people, but that's just the way it is. So, I don't know. I'm open to any ideas. Have you had any experience with the chamber? Have they come to you at all?
Yeah, 0.
See?
So I'm actually surprised it exists.
I know you have. I know you guys are probably the biggest company on the list. I suggested that they raise the dues and that each person that joins the chamber, they do a 3-minute video and explaining what their business is all about, and then the chamber rotates that video on the website, and more people we have, more momentum we pick up, and then use that extra. I think it went from $100 to $125 a year, so it's not like it's this huge expense. But to put that $25 into a bank account to get to the point where you can actually hire somebody for a couple hours a week to work chamber business, okay? Because that's part of the problem, is you have people that are on the chamber that are overworked, they have their own businesses, and they don't have time to do the kinds of things that they need to do. So the Montrose Waverly Chamber joined the Buffalo Chamber of Commerce, and we had a business owner in the meeting, and he says, well, that's great, what does that do for me? And it was the same thing, nothing. Darn thing. So so if you have any ideas about the Chamber of Commerce as well as EDA, run them by me, because I'll be happy to bring them up in a meeting. Because I'm at the point now where I don't even want to go to the meetings anymore, because it's the same thing all the time. Volunteerism is down, no matter what you do in the city. Nobody wants to volunteer for anything. And the same goes with chamber and everything else. So I don't know what it is, but it's really tough getting things done. It's always the same. I mean, Pareto principle used to be 80-20 rule, but anymore it's like 90-10 or 95-5, something like that. You get 10% of the people that are actually the doers, and the other 90 just drag along. So. But anyway, you all have my email address, so anything you see on this flyer that you recommend should change or be updated or anything, please shoot me a note and, be honest with me, because I really do want honest evaluation on this, what I need to change and what I need to add. The information you've provided so far has been good, and I will make those adjustments.
You updated the population on the one stat.
Well, yeah, I mean, I went, the latest that's online that I could find was July 1st, and that was 3509. I hear we're up at 3775, or, where did you get that information?
That came to us from the state demographics. They sent us a notice saying that, and they send that every year, so.
Really? So it
But we
is,
haven't gotten any census stuff back.
so the real number is 3775?
Yep.
And then on the opposite side of your sheet, on the narrative portion, you reference home to nearly 3,300, so you want to update that one as well.
Oh, yeah, yep. Home to nearly 3,800. So it's good to bring that up. Yep. Okay, I did make sure I got Matt and Rob on there. Yeah, and like I said, the household income has probably changed since I put this together. The renter-owner thing, I'm not sure that's really important, so I may, you guys think I should leave that in there or kick it out? I have some new household income numbers that I'm going to plug in here. But does it matter if people rent or they own?
I don't know if that would matter, that would maybe matter more to you know, developers
Developers.
for residents rather than for businesses.
Yeah. But this is also to attract developers, so, you know, that's kind of why I put it in there originally, but I, you know, if we're strapped for space, I want to make sure that I have enough room to put the important, pertinent data in here than stuff that's really not important. So unless something else comes up, I'll leave it in there. And then, you know, the traffic flow and all that stuff, I thought I'd keep in there, because that gives and that's based on data from like 2017, and we know that's changed. But go to try to find something that's current. There's nothing on MnDOT of any current, you know, they put the strip things across the highway and count the cars, and that's the last time they did that. So. And I added Wright Technical Center in the schools here because I think it's just as important. I don't know, you guys, Matt, you guys get anybody from Wright Tech at all?
Yeah, we work
You
with
do?
those.
Okay, good, good. Yeah. How about you, Rob? Did you bring your mechanics with you, or?
Two of them I did, and one is actually Right Tech slash Anoka Ramsey.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Awesome. That's good to know they're being used. Okay. So like I said, I mean, if there's anything on here, don't be bashful, just tell me, hey, Tom, I think you're out left field on this, take that off of there and put this in instead. I'm open to it all. So.
Is the rail spur accessible to any vacant business park property?
Well, yeah, it's right behind you guys.
Yeah.
And it goes across, this 144 acres on the corner would be accessible. They'd have to put a spur in.
Okay.
And the business park is accessible because it's right near the railroad tracks.
Sure.
Um,
Are those properties all decently signed as far as available land?
Yeah, I know the business park is.
Yeah.
This one here, you have to, unless you're looking for it, you missed a sign because it's, you know, off into the field on the right-hand side. The one across from Craft Pattern, that one's visible. That's right out there in the open. And the 40-some acres on County 12, there's a couple of different signs on that property.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think they are, because I went along and I took pictures of the signs, and then I called the numbers on there to find out information on what was available.
Good.
I had a heart attack on some of the prices. It's like, oh, we charge by the foot. Oh, really? It's just so it sounds like a small number, but when you add it up, it's like, holy cow.
I mean,
That piece of property out in front of Craft Pattern, that's a real prime location, expensive piece of property there.
I bet.
didn't somebody indicate that Glencoe had built the industrial park where Nutrisource is? The city, was that my understanding?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
So Winstead's built their industrial parks, Howard Lake's built their industrial parks. I mean, it's that cost that you're talking about that is the barrier, and there are some grants from the state available to help with a portion of the infrastructure cost, but I think that's why you see the public getting involved in developing light industrial parks, because
yeah, well, I mean, all the business park has is a turnaround. It's all, you know, build on demand kind of thing,
Yeah,
you know.
because we do get emails from like Wright County Economic Development looking for already existing spaces for
Yeah.
people to go into.
Yeah.
We unfortunately just don't have that ready to go. We do have land, but, yeah.
Yeah, and I do interface with Wright County Economic Development Partnership, Jolene Foss. She and I worked on all these together, and we did a tour out at CCC. You know, she's on the ball. She knows what she's doing, and she's readily available to help. You know, in any.
Yeah, if she thought she could help, but she'd be here in
Yeah,
a moment. So.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I may have her come to a meeting just to kind of update us on what's going on, because Wright
We're
County.
working on that map project, that market area.
Oh, yeah.
Project
Yeah.
that with her too, so.
Yeah,
It's not quite there yet, but she can give some information about that for sure. It's very interesting.
yeah, because Wright County has its own EDA, and they also have the EDP. So, and I'm not sure where the lines
Yeah, I
of
don't know where the
demarcation
line is
are.
there.
I had a conversation with Mike Ketchmark about that, and I don't think he understood it either, so.
And there
Is he-
might not be a real hard line. It might be more of a dotted line, you know, like.
Yeah, I think
sort
it's
of
a wavy line.
wavy line.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure where one ends and the other one starts, because I know he wanted to do away with EDP since they had the EDA. So I don't want to keep you guys longer than. Okay, I'm thinking next meeting on the agenda, it says next in February. I'm wondering at this point in time, since we don't have any real pressing activity, do we do it every other month until things pick up and we have to meet every month?
I'd expect we'd have a TIF request.
From,
Yeah.
from them by February.
Yeah, from JP Brooks. by
Okay, so
February.
let's leave it
Let's keep
then.
it then.
Okay,
We can always move it.
okay, that sounds good.
If they are hoping for a special meeting, is that something that's considered or no?
Yeah, if we can do that, I think it's an extra fee or something that we
Okay.
have to pay for a special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All right, we have a second.
Yes.
We're adjourned.
I drove by your lot twice when I came into town. Got some cool stuff. So.
I took a bunch of pictures when